What up, y'all? What's going on? Happy Wednesday Night Wars. Back at you for a second straight Wednesday in a row, which is kind of cool. I said last week that it's going to be rare for me to come up and do an NXT and AEW review, but anytime I'm home on a Wednesday night, I will do it. And I got another chance tonight, 2 weeks in a row. Who knows when the next time I'll be able to do this, but it sure was fun last week. And we're going to have some fun tonight. Now, this is going to be a dual review. I actually tried to watch both shows. I'm home alone, so I had a split screen going on. I was watching kind of both at a time. And then I waited another hour to come up live so I could kind of plug in my holes on my notes and stuff for some of the things I missed. And it's kind of hard to do that, but also kind of fun at the same time. It keeps you constantly watching something. And, whoa, what a whirlwind. I think both shows are pretty good tonight. I don't think either one of them was the best NXT or the best AEW we've ever seen. But both shows, I think, were solid. I think I definitely have a favorite, although it was close again this week. But I think I've picked my favorite for which show I enjoyed better. But all in all, we had some good setups. NXT's right off the heels of In Your House this past Sunday night. And AEW's in the middle of their build for Fyter Fest. So we knew it was going to be a good night because AEW had advertised a bunch of matches already, including FTR and Jericho appearance and a few other things. So we knew what was going to happen there. And for the most part, I think AEW delivered, and so did NXT. And we got a couple of really big surprises in NXT, including the main event, the end, where Adam Cole's next challenger appears to be revealed. I kind of thought and was hoping it was going to be Keith Lee, and they might go the double champion route with him. And we talked about this in the review the other night, that maybe Lee is the next guy to hold the title, and the person to take down Keith Lee is this big bad Killer Cross. But it seems like they are not wasting any time whatsoever with him, as we saw Scarlett come out with the hourglass at the end and place it in the ring, kind of symbolizing the tick-tock and that Adam Cole's days as champion are now officially numbered. I don't know how I feel about that. We're going to talk about it later. We'll probably get into AEW first, but once we get into the NXT results and we discuss that situation, I don't know. I'm a big Killer Cross fan. We talked about him the other night. I really would like to see a Brock Lesnar-like rise to the top, which means that would happen pretty quick. I mean, Brock was champ 4 months after he debuted on Raw. So I feel like they might be trying to recreate that Brock type of dominance with Killer Cross, even though it's very early. He's only got one pay-per-view match and only been on TV a couple of times. With him now showing up and, staking his claim as next in line for the title, and if he puts down Adam Cole in the same way or in the same fashion that he did Tommaso Ciampa, holy shit, this guy is no joke. So it's going to be interesting in NXT. I'm kind of excited. And on the AEW side of the coin, I think Fyter Fest is shaping up quite nicely. Looks pretty good. And that's going to be a 2 Dynamite affair, a 2-week affair coming up in July, I believe. They're just going to have all the pay-per-views right there on Daily's Place on Wednesdays. So we should have some pretty decent wrestling coming up from these two companies anyway in the next several weeks. So that's kind of cool. Let me just say hi to the chat. Really pretty low audience in here last week for the NXT review. I don't think people are used to seeing me up here on Wednesdays. And plus, I know I got a shit ton of competition on Wednesday. So hopefully we'll have a decent handful of people in here. But good to see Tiger and Big J and Tim and Maka International, Nira and Vash. How Wheezy's in here. Brett. Super chat rolling in from Austin. Thanks, brother, for the $5. For a split second, I thought Scarlett was Charlotte. Ooh. Also, only Chris Jericho can pull off attacking someone with oranges. That's true. Both were good shows. I agree completely. Scarlett didn't, I wasn't confusing her with Charlotte, but boy, that probably scared you shitless for a half a second there, because when Adam Cole won and he beat Dexter Lumis in the end there was still 2 or 3 minutes left of TV time. So I was kind of thinking it was going to be Keith Lee coming out to make the save, because I think the Undisputed Era continued the attack on Dexter after. So I was just expecting the Bask in His Glory music and for Keith Lee to run out there and there'd be a stare down and all of that, especially since they kind of crossed paths in the locker room earlier on, planting the seed for that. So to have Scarlett come out there in the end, I'm like, holy shit, it's going to be Killer Cross and Adam Cole. And wow, wasn't expecting it to be quite that quick. I thought they would push him quick based on how he put down Ciampa, but I kind of thought he'd take the belt off of Babyface. And hell, if you build up Keith Lee to be Mr. Dominant, although he took a loss tonight, and he winds up a double champion, that's a big guy to take down if you're Killer Cross, and a big way to, announce to the world that you're here kind of thing. But instead, looks like it's going to be utter annihilation for Adam Cole whenever that match happens, I suppose, at the next TakeOver. Seriously, I don't think they're going to be doing that shit on a Wednesday. But anyway, what's going on, Mab? Good to see you as well. And Joey G and Kevin, King Supreme, Dark and Souls. Follow the dream. A few new ones in here. Yeah, why don't we get rolling? Because we have 2 shows to get into tonight, and I am exhausted. I got another busy work week, and I worked today. Worked all the way up until about an hour before the shows started, so I had to haul ass home and kind of get organized here. So it's been a long one for me. So we'll blow through these results relatively quickly. We'll hang out tonight, chat, discuss stuff, answer some questions here in the chat, and just hang out for a little bit. And then I'm going to get out of here because we've got another busy weekend coming up because we've got Backlash. So I'll be up here Saturday night with predictions, and then I'll be up on Sunday, of course, after Backlash for a full show review, including a review the following night on Monday Night Raw as well. So you get a whole lot of me within the next 5 or 6 days, which is kind of cool. Lucky y'all. All right, let's start with AEW. We're going to start with Dynamite tonight because I watched that show for the most part and had NXT on really low audio or on mute, but I was kind of focused on AEW first, and then when NXT got good, I kind of switched it. So for the most part, I paid attention to them, so I figured we'll start with them. Now, number 1, Jericho was advertised to be back on the show tonight, and he sat in on commentary seemingly for the whole show. He was there for like the first hour, and hilarious as always, just doing his Jericho thing. So that was a treat for him to be there with Tony and JR and Excalibur. Show opened up with FTR having their first in-ring match in AEW. Very cool, taking on the Butcher and the Blade. That was set up last week in the hotel lobby, the whole deal that they did there. FTR wins. They showed up in the truck, the same truck that they drove in last week, and we knew that Butcher and the Blade was going to be the first team lined up for them to defeat. Now, they're doing the whole deal on social media, and I guess their gimmick is doing proper tag team wrestling, and they're criticizing other teams for not using the tag rope and shit like that. So I don't know, it's kind of like, pulling back the curtain a little bit and discussing, what real tag team wrestling is and all that shit. So that seems to be their focus. They're kind of be heels there. They're kind of going to be trolls and teach, so to speak, these tag teams how to do it when AEW, in fact, has a really solid tag team division. Imagine if their women's division was as good as their tag team division. Holy shit. So anyway, FTR gets the win here. No big surprise. You knew Butcher and Blade were going to be merely a tune-up. The Young Bucks come out. Matt and Nick come out, confront them, get on the mic, talk about how they've been pretty much carrying tag team wrestling on their back for the last 15 years. And Kenny Omega and Adam Page show up as well. Oh my God, my cats are fighting. Page has got one of those cowboy shirts on. He looks like a tablecloth at a barbecue restaurant. And you kind of have the 3 teams there. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing that triple threat match at all. And Kenny and Page also have a match next week, title match, where they're defending the titles. So kind of a stare down there between the 3 teams. And that was it. Now, after that, they cut backstage to an interview with Dustin, QT, and Brandy. Now, QT Marshall's been hanging around with Allie for some reason, formerly the Bunny. They didn't even explain, I don't think, that she's no longer with the Butcher and the Blade, but she's not. She's back to being Allie now. I guess she's QT's girlfriend. Dustin and Brandy do not like her, so that's setting up for something. She's wearing one of the Rhodes family jackets, and Dustin, or Brandy, I think, is like, why is she wearing my family's jacket? And Dustin it's kind of interesting that Dustin is kind of lecturing QT, stay focused and keep your mind off this Jezebel kind of thing, when he had the same exact problem with Terry back in the day. And part of the reason why he didn't speak to his own father for so long is because he was so hung up on his wife. So it's kind of interesting, Dustin of all people giving that type of advice to QT Marshall. But since Dustin and Brandy are not on board with the Allie relationship, and they got a title match next week against Omega and Page, that's going to play a role, right? So we'll see what happens there, and I guess that could be the beginning of a heel turn for QT. Might as well. He's virtually invisible as a babyface on the roster. He's not, I guess, not an enhancement talent, but he ain't winning any titles either. So I think maybe next week, this is their attempt to do something more with him. He's going to have a heater with him now if he's aligned with Allie, and they're both heels. That could help him, because otherwise he's a very average Joe kind of looking guy, and he's super nice. We saw him on the cruise, good wrestler and everything, but he's just kind of bland. So if they do the heel turn with him, stick him with Allie, who knows? Maybe he's got a chance. Penelope Ford and Nyla Rose defeated Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander in a tag team match. Penelope Ford got the pin on Hikaru Shida, which is interesting. She used the AEW Women's title, smacked her in the face with it, and was able to get the pin for her team. So that's interesting. I don't think, I'm guessing that that'll lead now to Hikaru Shida, maybe even defending the title against Penelope and beating her. Hikaru Shida, if she's going to beat Nyla Rose like that, you're not taking that belt off of her for 4 months, I would think, at least. Next up, we had a pretty interesting skateboard vignette segment with Darby Allin. Now, Darby is not medically cleared, but he's jumping off of balconies. You guys see his Instagram or his Twitter the other day. He's on 5-6 stories up on a hotel, and he just dives off the balcony into the pool. Not medically cleared, but he can do that. Now he's skateboarding around this like indoor skate park or something. It's all in black and white, and Tony Hawk is with him, which is interesting because I just met Tony Hawk a few days ago, came into my restaurant. He's been there before, but this is my first time to actually meet and talk to him. So that was just on, I don't remember what day now, Thursday, I think, of last week. So it was kind of cool to see him on Dynamite tonight. That was awesome. We had another pretty hilarious Britt Baker package, which I really like. Now, she's one of the people or one of the fans in the audience on Dynamite. She's got her role model mobile there, and she's got that just bitchy-ass look on her face, and she looks miserable all the time. So that whole deal was funny, as all of them have been. All the Britt packages, I think, have been pretty entertaining. Probably one of the bigger moments on the show was the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy taking on the Inner Circle. It was Santana and Ortiz and Hager, I believe, in the 6-man tag. Now, the Best Friends and Orange picked up the upset win here, and I had mentioned on Twitter, I was like, is Jericho going to actually stay out there all night, or is he going to hop off headset here and get involved in a post-match brawl? That's exactly what he did. Once the match was over, Jericho leaps off commentary as the fight continues, and they attack and single out Orange Cassidy. Jericho's got a bag of oranges, like a bag of blood oranges. He assaults Cassidy with the oranges. Cassidy gets busted open, and they just beat the absolute shit out of him. Now, I would really like to see a Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy match. Jericho seems to like to do that. He's worked with some of these younger up-and-coming talents like the Pineapple Pete's, and did he work with Darby? Can't remember if he worked with Darby. He might have. And now maybe doing something with Orange Cassidy. I would love to see that match on Dynamite. It's not like he's going to win. Oh, he worked with Marco Stunt too, didn't he? So it's not like Cassidy's going to win. He has the whole job to Jericho. Of course he will. But it'll be a really big rub for Cassidy, and I would like to see them do that match. But next week, it's Les Sex Gods versus Chuck and Trent. So just a tag match there. Hopefully, maybe Orange Cassidy gets his revenge next week, and that will set up your Jericho, Orange Cassidy Dynamite match some point in the near future on TV. I think that could be fun. I don't know if they could do something like that for Fyter Fest. It's possible. I kind of envision that match, when it ever happens, to be a Dynamite type of thing. But hell, if Pac and Orange wrestled on pay-per-view, why can't Jericho and Orange Cassidy? And hell, talk about somebody that can make Jericho look good and bump around and shit for him. Somebody that Jericho can kind of like overpower. Probably be a lot better match than people think. And, it goes down to that debate too about Orange Cassidy. So many people, so many fans who've never even touched a wrestling ring are going to sit there and pass judgment on whether or not he should be in the ring or not. Well, Chris Jericho, a 30-year veteran, a future Hall of Famer, a goddamn legend, a trendsetter, he certainly appears to be okay with Orange Cassidy being in the ring. He's going to work a small program with him here. And the Inner Circle have had interactions with Cassidy the last few weeks on Dynamite. So if Jericho thinks that this kid is worthy, who the fuck are the fans who do nothing, by the way? Who are they to say any different? You know what I mean? So the whole Orange Cassidy debate I find to be silly, because any legend you see in wrestling puts the kid over. It's just the fans that are dicks, So, unless you're Cornette or something. Other than him, nobody seems to have a problem with him at all. And a lot of his peers put him over for his work and some of the shit he can do. He's athletic, a hell of a lot more athletic than anybody that's bitching about him. So there you go. There's my weekly defense of Orange Cassidy. Next up, we had an MJF promo on the outside of the ring. He's got Wardlow backing him up. He gets in Billy Gunn's face, who continues to only look 25 years old. He is defying the laws of nature. It just blows my mind how good he looks to be the age that he is. He's out there with his son, gets in MJF's face, and MJF's like, hey, Wardlow, and, Wardlow comes to back him up. Next week, we're going to get MJF and Billy Gunn, with Wardlow in MJF's corner and Billy's son or sons in his corner. There might have been two of them out there. I wasn't sure. I was just focused on Billy and how damn good he looked. We had Sammy Guevara taking on Colt Cabana. Pretty good win for Sammy here. Colt put him over. And the Dark Order then came out. They've kind of been recruiting Colt Cabana, which is a really strange person to recruit in my mind. I can't even see Colt doing this, although they are really teasing this. As a matter of fact, two of the masked dudes came out after the loss, and he almost like followed him through the tunnel or through the entrance ramp there. So their style still kind of coming after him a little bit, and he is apprehensive, but I don't know what the blow-off here is going to be. Is he actually going to join the Dark Order? You know, maybe side by side with Brody and being just a little bit more serious. You know, being the fun-loving guy didn't work for me. You know, I've been let go from all the big promotions. Now I'm in AEW and I'm on a losing streak. I got to change my ways if I ever want to have a chance to really have success. And maybe he turns into the same type of gimmick or character that Brody Lee is. Just a little quieter, a little subdued, a little more subdued, and a lot less Colt Cabana. I don't know. Seems weird to think of him that way, though. Something is going on with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. They did a little vignette where Joey Janela's been drinking and just wandering the streets. Luckily, Sonny Kiss pulls up there, someone that he knows, in a sweet-ass Corvette or some shit, and he hops in the car with him, and they drive away. So I don't know where they're going. I might not want to know, but that saga will continue next week on Dynamite, so maybe they're finally putting Sonny Kiss on Dynamite. About time. Jon Moxley had a promo in the parking lot as well. He's taken exception to Taz, and Taz's shit talk, and even puts Taz over as one of the better shit talkers in the world, but really doesn't like him, you know, talking smack at him that way. Taz then shows up, and you knew it was just so transparent. I like the Moxley promo. I think the backdrop looked good, the whole deal. He had the title in the parking lot. I thought all that was fun, but when Taz showed up and was so fearless, I'm like, well, no shit. Like, Moxley is a veteran. He should be turned around already. Because when you have somebody that you can clearly overpower getting in your face and is all fearless, you better know there's somebody behind you about to attack. So Moxley's like, what are you going to do, Taz? I'll fucking kill you. And of course, Brian Cage nails him from behind and beats him down in the parking lot. Now, with that all going down like that, and this now becoming, you know, where these two guys are trying to get at each other outside the ring, and the fact that they've moved Brian Cage into this match so quickly upon his debut match, he won the poker chip thing. So they're putting him in a title program way too early in my mind, especially when I don't think he's going to win and they're going to run with Moxley for a while. If I had to guess anyway, maybe this is a stip. You know, maybe we get a street fight. Maybe we get a brawl. Maybe we get something to where when Moxley inevitably wins, it doesn't completely destroy Brian Cage. You know, where if they had a regular wrestling match in a ring, Mox hits the paradigm shift, pins him 1, 2, 3 in the middle. You know, it's almost like, where the fuck do you go now? If this is some sort of street fight thing and Moxley hits him over the head with a baseball bat and pins him in a sidewalk or something, then it's different, you know? So maybe that's the direction they're going in for Fyter Fest, is some sort of a street fight. And yeah, we'll see. I don't really want to see Brian Cage take the belt off of Moxley. I like Moxley as champion. I'm open to him losing, but, you know, maybe not until the fans come back, or maybe to a better opponent than Brian Cage. Just my opinion. Main event time was Cody defending the title. Again, he's going to be basically doing the Cena Open Challenge thing. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and now this is the second week in a row that his match has been the main event. So that's another thing I'm wondering about. Is Cody going to main event every Dynamite, defending that title? He doesn't have to. He can defend the title at the top of the first hour. What's wrong with that in the middle of the show? So this is the second week in a row now, and I kind of joked too on Twitter because last week we saw it go, you know, maybe a little bit overboard with the celebration at the end. You know, Jungle Boy and Cody it was a hell of a match last week. I enjoyed it immensely, but sometimes I wonder if they're just taking themselves a tiny bit too seriously here, because after the match, there's the handshake and, you know, it's so emotional and there's $20,000 worth of pyro going off and all of that. But it's like, Cody just won the belt. This is not some big epic match that you've been building for weeks. This was Cody and Jungle Boy. This is his first title defense that he's going to win. Not a fan watching at home thought Cody was going to drop the belt last week, and not a fan watching at home thought he was going to drop the belt this week either. So I don't know if I would have put that match in the main event if I was them, because it is, you know, when I had both matches or I had both shows on the screens here, I was focused in the main event much more heavily on NXT than I was AEW, because I knew who was going to win on AEW. You know, with NXT, you know, it's a non-title match. Who knows? And plus, you know, you really felt like Adam Cole's next challenger was all going to be set up in that match. So I thought there was going to be more important things happening on the NXT main event than the AEW one, because it was, you know, so predictable. But Not only did they set up Adam Cole's next opponent, they set up Cody's as well after he inevitably defeated Mark Quinn there. The Inner Circle and Matt Hardy, I think, all joined the brawl along with Jake Hager. So Inner Circle hit the ring. Hager, I believe, was actually first, coming out there and saying, hey, I want a shot at that title. So I thought that was going to be our match next week. So then the Inner Circle and Matt Hardy come out, big brawl ensues. Everybody, kind of powders away, leaving Cody in the ring alone. I think Matt's with him. He gets on the mic and he says, you want it, you got it. Title match, Fighter Fest. So Cody and Hager is going to beat the pay-per-view. So that's not too bad either. Not sure if it's, if they don't have the plans to put the belt on Hager, do you really want to beat him? I don't know, but Cody and Hager, that's a pretty decent looking match, and they'll probably have a good one. I'm sure they've had WWE matches, but I can't recall any. And they've probably had multiple WWE matches, so they've probably seen each other before. I just don't recall. Maybe I'll look some up on YouTube. But I think that match is okay looking on paper. I think it'll be pretty good. And who knows? Maybe Cody actually drops it. I think you should continue this at least for a little while. You don't want it to get too old. If Cody main events 9 straight fucking Dynamites and it's the same thing, it's an underneath guy who gets a title shot that he beats and there's fireworks and a hug and tears and celebration, because this is 2 babyface main events in a row now for Cody. It's okay. It is permissible to face a heel on TV. We'll see if he does that next week or not. But if that becomes the norm, and what we saw last week with Jungle Boy and this week with Mark Quinn is what we see for the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think that's going to get old real quick. Even though I like Cody defending the belt every week, it doesn't need to be the main event, doesn't need to be a babyface, doesn't need to do the same thing every time. So we'll see. We'll see what they do next week. But overall, I thought Dynamite was solid. That match was entertaining. The Moxley stuff was good. They had several, all the vignettes that they did. The Joey Janelle and Sonny Kiss one, the Britt Baker package, and the Darby Allin and Tony Hawk stuff I really liked. Big upset for Penelope Ford pinning the champion, setting up a QT Marshall heel turn. FTR is now on the scene here, and they mean business. And Jericho was an absolute gem on commentary like he always is. So overall, I was down with Dynamite tonight. That was the show I liked better, although not by much. I mean, NXT was solid as well, and I got plenty of things to talk about here. They had a good swerve. They had a good main event. Good stuff all around. So I'm giving the nod to AEW, but trust me, it ain't by much. So if you disagree with me, you think NXT is a better show, fine, because I can see that argument too. So no need to waste your breath or your fingertips. Don't worry. It's not that big a deal, but I am just by hair giving the nod to the boys. Damn, look at that audience. That is sucky. That's probably why I'm not going to be doing these Wednesday night shows very often. Joey G, thanks, brother. Thank you for the $5. I don't know if I like how they're building the Bucks versus FTR match as a babyface match. FTR just seems like a heel team riding in on the pickup. I agree, and maybe there's time to get there. They haven't really set up the Bucks match yet, even though it's going to happen. Maybe I think they'll go full blown heel at some point, maybe even in the match or before it or something like that, because that might be how they beat them. Instead of just having a straight up babyface match with FTR winning, maybe go heel. Which would be funny because they're preaching, proper tag team wrestling and that they're going to, restore integrity and shit like that to the tag team division and all this stuff. And then they cheat to win. I wouldn't mind that. And then they continue to preach proper tag team wrestling while being dirty, cheating little bastards at the same time. That's the direction I'd go in if I was them. So I think, you might be right, Joey, and they'll probably wind up getting to that point at some point in the future anyway. Victor Colon, thank you for the $2. AEW should have waited for this Brian Cage match. I agree. I was surprised I didn't have him. I actually kind of predicted that match right. And the pay-per-view, I predicted whoever the mystery opponent was would win. But Brian Cage wasn't on my radar, even though he should have been. I had, Rusev in mind or somebody else. I was like, they wouldn't do a mystery guy if they weren't going to have him win it kind of thing. So I thought that he was going to win no matter what. But having it be Brian Cage, I think it was a bit early, because even though he was a hot free agent, people know who he is and everything, they don't know who he is as much as maybe somebody else, where, I think you could justify someone like Rusev coming in and winning that and getting a title shot, because everybody knows who he is. They're familiar with him. He's over. It'll be a much more shock. With Brian Cage, I just think it was like, a bit too early. And they got some beef on that roster now. You know, they got Brian Cage, they've got Wardlow, they've got Hager, they've got Brody. They got some big guys. Lance Archer is another one. So they have some beef on that roster. So I don't know. I think it's too early too, which is why I speculated on they might do the stipulation. So they do a street fight. Maybe it won't feel as damaging as like an in-ring clean pin 1, 2, 3 square in the middle after a paradigm shift. Having Moxley set him on fire, or shove a pair of hedge clippers up his ass or something. I don't know. That might be a better way to beat him, and then it just won't feel quite as, not to use the word buried, but it won't feel quite as a burial as it would maybe if it was in the middle of the ring. Let's move on to NXT. NXT tonight was also very good. First show since In Your House, a really good In Your House this past Sunday. If you want to hear and see my review of In Your House, check it out. It's on my page right now. The Undisputed Era came out to open up the show, cut a promo, bragging their balls off, or at least Adam Cole was. Roderick Strong seems a little spooked. Now, him and Fish were, I think, thrown in a trunk or something by Dexter Lumis at the pay-per-view, and he drove away with him or something like that. So they're in the ring all freaked out. Roddy is sketchball. I mean, he is losing his shit. He keeps seeing Dexter Lumis through the plexiglass. He goes, look, he's right there. And then Adam Cole turns around and he's not there. So Dexter Lumis is a really interesting character, and I'm liking him. I've liked him right from the start. I said there's just something about him. That mustache, he reminds me of like a 1996 Stone Cold Steve Austin before he cut the Jake Roberts promo, like right in between, right after the Ringmaster and, right before all of the Austin 316 shirts hit the market. He kind of reminds me of that because Austin had more of a mustache than a goatee back in those days as well. If you go back and watch a SummerSlam match with Yokozuna, it's just a mustache. So he reminds me of him a little bit. Plus, he doesn't say a whole lot. And when you hear about Austin, how he came up with the name Stone Cold and how he had always had a thing for kind of serial killers with no remorse and shit, I get that vibe far more from Dexter Lumis than I did from Austin back in 96. So he kind of reminds me of that, and I think he's interesting, and he looks kind of scary, and I think he can be somebody that's believable and who's somebody who could go on a really big tear at some point. And if he goes on a huge winning streak and just seems unstoppable and unbeatable, and then he comes face-to-face with Killer Kross one day, that could be some fun shit. But anyway, the whole promo was basically used to have Adam Cole gloat about his victory and to freak out the Undisputed Era with the presence of Dexter Lumis. Now, right after that, after the commercial, the Undisputed Era is backstage. That's when Keith Lee approaches them. And he kind of looks at Adam Cole's title, and he kind of looks in his own. And we had talked about that on Sunday during the In Your House review. We talked about who's next for Adam Cole. And what we had pitched, somebody had the idea, and then I kind of elaborated on it, was Keith Lee being the guy. And Keith Lee, he's the biggest babyface maybe right now over there. He was put over huge at the end of the year last year, given a big rub with some big stars in the WWE. Very impressive. He's fucking awesome. And if he was the one to take the title off of Adam Cole, and he'd be a double champion, a double dominant fucking champion, that would be great. Then you could take the North American title, hold it up in a tournament, and have Johnny Gargano win that. And then Keith Lee is your new NXT champion without ever having to take a loss, getting rid of the North American title, going on this long winning streak, even though he did get his shoulders pinned to the mat tonight. And then after he runs with the title for a couple of months, you have him run into Killer Kross. And Killer Kross beats him, emphatically, and wins the title, and he's the new top heel. But they seem to be skipping all that and just going fast-forwarding right to Killer Kross and Adam Cole, which is a little bit surprising to me since that's kind of heel versus heel. So I don't know there. But since Keith Lee kind of did that thing backstage, WWE, that was intended to mean something. So Keith Lee might still get a shot, just because Karrion Kross says he wants it doesn't mean he's going to get it. William Regal could come up on the iPad and make some sort of a ruling and give Keith Lee the match first or something like that. I don't know, but I love Karrion Kross. I'm fine with whatever they do here. If they want to shove Karrion Kross right to the top, give him the belt right now, you know what? Fine. It worked in 2002 with Brock Lesnar, and look at the business that guy drew for the next 20 years. So if they want to try to recreate something like that, similarly with Karrion Kross, no arguments out of me. But my heart wants Keith Lee, because Keith Lee's awesome. And he's been there a while, and he's over, and the audience just fucking adores the dude. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. But he was in action tonight with his girl, Mia Yim. They were taking on the Garganos in a mixed tag team match. Now, they did a deal where Johnny Gargano did the, kind of the inside the rope DDT move or whatever onto Keith Lee, but Candice LeRae was laying on the mat and Keith Lee landed on top of her. So that was kind of the finish there. Candice got injured. Keith Lee seemed a little bit worried, even remorseful, even kind of checking on her a little bit, allowing Gargano to attack him, roll him up, and score a quick 1-2-3 on him. Not even checking on his wife. Keith Lee was way more concerned about Candice than Gargano was, but Gargano rolled him up and got the win. Now, that's exactly how I thought Gargano, if he was going to steal the North American title at In Your House, I thought it was going to be something like that. Some sort of crazy kooky-ass distraction. He gets a quick roll-up and a quick pin, and he scurries away with the title. Now, luckily, that didn't happen, but they got the win here instead, which makes me wonder if the issue with Lee and Gargano is not quite over. I don't know. And maybe the Undisputed Era gets involved in that. Maybe if they do another match for the North American title, maybe the UE come out, help out Gargano in some way that, enrages Keith Lee and he comes after Adam Cole's title. If they decide to wait on the Killer Cross or Karrion Kross stuff, I don't know. We'll see. But Gargano and Candice were victorious tonight. Malcolm Bivens' team was out there as well. I haven't caught their name yet. Two big giant guys. Once they came out there, I started paying attention to Dynamite a little bit more. They won a big squash match. I really enjoyed the Breezango vignette, which was funny. They were talking about all their different past incarnations as the fashion police and the construction workers and the police officers, and how they were more focused about handing out fashion violations and citations than being a real team. They got a title match next week against Imperium, and this was all setting that up. I seriously don't think, even though they won the number one contenders thing last week, I think, so last week or the week before, I can't see them winning the titles. I don't know, maybe. I don't think so, though. Maybe I'm going to root for them. Fuck it. Maybe, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne were the Broserweights. They were your comedy tag team championship team, right? That ended quicker than I think WWE wanted it to because of the COVID stuff, and Pete Dunne was stuck where he was. They brought in Thatcher as the replacement. Then they decided to move Riddle up, essentially just completely killing all of that. And unless they do it on the main roster, the Broserweights are dead. So maybe they just want to kind of have Imperium, who is a very, very boring heel team, not much to them. Maybe they want those belts back on a more entertaining team, and they're just a transitional champion, and Breezango knocks him off next week and becomes the champs and kind of becomes the new Broserweights. Would you guys be opposed to that? If they put the belts on Breezango next week? What do y'all think? I'd be all right with that. Why not? It's all about fun, right? So far, I think AEW outfunds NXT. NXT can still be fun here and there. They got some fun shit on there, but for the most part, AEW Dynamite still feels the more like overall wrestling type of show where you're likely to see anything. You're going to see some crazy shit, some wacky shit, some good wrestling, some violence, all rolled into one, where NXT doesn't seem to have that big of a variety. So that's why maybe Breezango is actually a thing, could actually happen. I was really happy to see Rhea Ripley beat the shit out of Robert Stone backstage. That was great. I guess he was attempting to recruit her, and she just beat the piss out of him. She's kind of mad, too, because look who's champ now. It ain't her. Oh, damn, that's what I missed. Fuck. Sorry, guys. I knew I missed something in my notes. I completely missed. You guys got to help me. Help me with my notes here. Didn't see EO's celebration. Forgot to write it down. She was supposed to be out in the ring doing a promo, right? Didn't see it. What did she say? Did anybody confront her? Do we know who her next opponent is? You guys, help me. Help me, Forrest. Sorry about that. I should have, I knew I was missing something. Jesus. Anyway, we also had Cameron Grimes taking on Finn Balor again. Grimes got beat up by Damian Priest backstage, and he's trying to claim that he's got a broken jaw, but, he's talking to people okay. Regal is on, via satellite on the iPad, and he's like, dude, your jaw's fine. Stop being a bitch. And get out there and face Finn Balor anyway. William Regal, even on iPad, is intimidating. I would not want to be called Sunshine by William Regal. That would be a nightmare. But anyway, he's not buying Cameron Grimes' bullshit, tells him to go out to the ring, face Balor anyway, and the match was pretty competitive. I was surprised. We knew that Balor wasn't going to lose, but Cameron, he's racked up a couple of surprise victories here or there, and he gave Balor a little bit of run for his money, but in the end, Balor won with the coup de Gracie, and that was real fun. Dakota Kai with Raquel Gonzalez defeated Casey Catanzaro. After the match, they continued beating the crap out of Casey until Caden Carter came out and made the save. She had some pretty good-looking offense in that as well when they were fighting off the heels there. I like Dakota and Raquel. Raquel gives me the Diesel vibes. Hell, Dakota and Raquel give me the Diesel and Shawn vibes. I would love to see them kind of, not copy it, but do a little bit of a play off of that. Maybe do the pose, the Shawn pose with, Raquel over top. I think that would be kind of cool. So I'm kind of into them. I'm cool with them. A lot of people haven't said too many great things about Raquel Gonzalez, but she's big, she's bad, she'll get better. And so far, I like the duo together. Drake Maverick, this is a good part of NXT right here. This is real good. Maybe a little silly with the name reveal, but the whole twist and swerve here was pretty fun. So Phantasma, of course, we know, beat Drake Maverick last week to win the Cruiserweight title in the tournament. After the match, Triple H came out and presented Drake, who had been released, a brand new contract with the company, so he's back. He's in the ring here, congratulating Phantasma. It's, kind of a show of respect type of thing. Drake is happy to be back, and it's all love. Then the Kidnappers, the Lucha Kidnappers show back up. 2 men in masks come down to the ring, and they get on either side, surrounding Drake and Phantasma, and Drake is, facing off ready to fight, and that's when Phantasma turns around, and you knew it was him. When these little kidnapping spots were done on TV, you knew, hell, I even pitched Drake Maverick maybe being behind him, but you knew it was going to be somebody, it was going to be a babyface turning heel. You just knew that. So, first of all, Phantasma turns around, attacks Drake. All 3 guys attack him. The 2 masked men take off their masks to reveal it's Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Now, they were 2 victims of the kidnapping prior, right? Am I getting all that right? So they had already kind of been kidnapped before, so that was a nice little twist there, and I think a really good spot for those guys on the roster. And you see Phantasma unmasking as well. Good-looking guy reveals that his new name is Santos Escobar, which is so WWE. Very good twist there. Cut a good promo, too. He can talk. So I kind of liked all of that. So it looks like he's got a stable now. So your champion, who's just kind of a, I don't want to say bland, but just your, basic cruiserweight champion who's extreme, or what am I trying to say? Lucha Libre star who is extremely talented and athletic and can do a whole bunch of great things, but so can a lot of guys. What does he offer that nobody else does? And now turning him heel, having him cut a promo, swerve, forming a faction. Holy shit, that came out of nowhere. I liked it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Maybe they couldn't have been so ridiculous with the name, but other than that, I thought it was a good reveal, and I liked the whole thing. The whole segment to me was good. I liked it a lot. That leaves us with the main event. Before I get into that, let me see if you guys said anything about Io Shirai. Oh, sorry. Did I miss that? Okay. That's what's hard about watching 2 screens, is because I would have sworn they were saying Io Shirai's thing was tonight, and I thought I just missed it while I was in the confusion of flipping back and forth. Okay, so maybe I didn't miss shit. All right, never mind. Don't mind me. I'm just a forgetful old man. Let me scroll back up here and knock out some super chats before we hit this main event. Marcus, I have not gotten you then. Thank you, Marcus, for the $2. If not Brian Cage, then who? Maybe Darby Allin. You mean for Moxley? Yeah, Darby, but he's not medically cleared, and Darby and Mox have already had a battle, I believe, which that was fun as hell from what I remember. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, if not Brian Cage, who? I still think you can make cases for other guys. What's wrong with him just taking on like Adam Page or Omega for some reason, or maybe Cody, or maybe Lance Archer? I don't know. There's a lot of guys he could face, but he's already faced, Jake Hager, and he's got Brody Lee out of the way already. And those have all been like kind of one and dones without any return matches. He could face Jericho again. Yeah. I'm not against Brian Cage getting title matches at all. It's just, once he's there and give him a title match right away, where do you go from there? Victor, thank you for the $2. Today, Dexter on NXT reminded me of Michael Myers. Yeah, he did kind of. He's very, kind of methodical. He stalks people a lot like The Undertaker did. He doesn't say anything, and he's just got a stone cold look on his face like Austin did. It's a great combination. I'm hoping that he doesn't eat too many losses, because he's gotten a couple weeks ago, was it last week or the week before, he was pinned, I think, by Roderick Strong, just kind of like with a roll-up or small package, and I was a little bit surprised that they did that already. And here he lost as well, although, you know, it was a shit ton of help from his friends, but he still lost. But yeah, I like him. I'm on board with him so far. And speaking of Dexter, that brings us to the main event. He's taking on Adam Cole in the main event of NXT. Undisputed Era was out there to give Adam Cole all sorts of help, but Dexter, you know, had him freaked out a couple of times there. In the end, after Undisputed Era gets involved, I think both guys got a shot in on Dexter Lumis, allowing Cole to hit this last shot on Dexter for the win. And that's when the match wrapped up, and it was like, oh, we have like 2 minutes left. It was 58 after. So I'm like, what's going to happen here? And that's when I thought, you know, we were going to have Keith Lee come out because the Undisputed Era continued the attack on Dexter Lumis, and then the lights went out. And when Bask in His Glory didn't start, you knew. Lights came up on the stage, and there stands Scarlett coming out there with an hourglass, places it in the ring, and there you go, Adam Cole. That's it. Karrion Kross getting a shot at the NXT title. I'm happy for him, man. This is a big deal. They're not going to, if he faces Adam Cole, he's going to beat him. Adam Cole's not going to like last shot him and pin him. They're not going to do that to Karrion Kross. Adam Cole's had the belt for a year now. So, over a year. So it's time for Cole to cough this bitch up. And the fact that they're giving Karrion Kross the Brock 02 treatment, I'm not against it. You know, I'm not against it. A lot of fans think that there's like rules to ways you should do things. No, there isn't. There's no rule that says you have to wait a certain amount of time or X amount of time. If you feel like someone is money, you push them. Do it now. As a matter of fact, I like WWE doing this. Instead of dragging their feet and being complete buttholes about everything, this is actually something that's promising because I think they see dollar signs in him and they're like, look, you know, somebody's got to be that next guy. Now, WWE can easily screw this up. They likely will. But if you ever want to have a chance, ever, to have another Brock, who's come close to achieving that? No one. Even though Killer Kross is short-lived in the company, this is really the closest thing that we've seen so far to somebody that's just coming in and choking out top stars on the roster like it's nothing. So I would love to see him get a similar rise to the top that Brock did, although he'll be doing it in NXT here. You know, give him his run now with the title, have him be dominant. I don't know how the hell you would ever take that belt off of him if he does lose it or once he does win it. But once he does, then it's, you know, main roster time, and then, you know, we might be talking world titles. So it all depends on how WWE handles everything from here on out. But even with no audience right now, the fans still know that this gimmick is good shit. You know, the pairing with Scarlett, the whole presentation, the music, you know, the song, the black and white, all that stuff, you know, the heavy metal, and then the ass kicking in the ring, the legit, you know, fighting experience that he has, and being dominant over people that are considered to be feared themselves, like a Tommaso Ciampa, you know, put him down, choked him out like it was nothing. I'm all in. I'm all in on me some Karrion Kross. So I know I gave the nod to AEW tonight, but I want to reiterate it was literally by a hair because there was some good shit that went on here too. So in my mind, they won, but they didn't win by much. So yeah, look at that. I somehow rolled through all those results in under an hour. Man, look at my little numbers. My little poor 77. What pay-per-view was it? Was it, I think it was Money in the Bank. We had 16,000 people in the chat at one point, and now we have 78. If WWE's ratings drop like that, they would be canceled. Hope YouTube doesn't cancel me. Don't cancel me, YouTube. What else do y'all want to talk about? I didn't get a chance to check out any news today because I was at work literally until both shows started. So if anything crazy happened behind the scenes today, or there's any news, departures, comings, goings, injuries, anything like that, I'm unaware of it. Io Shirai gets her side plates. Very cool. What did they say? They said something on Backstage last night. What happened? Oh, yeah, there's another thing I want to talk about, too. Did you guys see it? It's not even to be taken seriously. It's so fucking funny. I laughed my nuts off today. So I guess there actually is an online petition going around for fans, actual humans, to sign to stop Charlotte. I can't even say this without fucking dying laughing. To stop Charlotte from winning titles. Why am I a wrestling fan? Why do I associate myself with the craziest bunch of motherfuckers on this planet? What is wrong with y'all? A petition for realsies? A petition to stop Charlotte from winning titles. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got an epidemic in this country, the likes of which we've never seen. All hell is breaking loose on the streets right now with the protests. We are as divided and as close to implosion as we have ever been, at least as a nation here. And our big problem is Charlotte being on TV and winning a match. You got bigger problems. And you have far bigger personal issues than Charlotte getting a push if this is something that you would go out and actually take the time to sign. Charlotte winning a title is like the least of your personal problems. You've got far bigger issues than that up in your noodle. Seek therapy. I thought that was really funny. And I guess it's a lot of it stemming from the overexposure. A lot of people were calling Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Charlotte, because it was. But really, I mean, I agree that Charlotte's on TV too much. I don't understand why she's everywhere, but she's a Raw person. So even if she's on Raw for 2 segments, she's a Raw person. Happens all the time. All sorts of people are on 2 segments. Back in the day when Steve Austin or The Rock were champion, they were in 3 segments. They opened the show, they had a couple of interviews or backstage spots in the middle, and they main evented every single week like clockwork. Nobody claimed about them being overexposed, and they were on both shows too, doing that shit on Raw and SmackDown. So I don't necessarily think it's overexposed. I think it's hate is what it comes down to. They're only overexposed when it's somebody you don't like. If it's somebody you like, you don't care if they're overexposed, kind of thing. So I don't know if I really buy into that argument because it's just another word that wrestling fans repeat without analyzing it. But she is on TV a lot, and she didn't, when she was NXT champion, she had no business on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. That is overexposure. But just being on Raw, that's her show. So if she's on 2 matches on Raw, so was Asuka. Why is Asuka not overexposed? She did the same shit Charlotte did. Now, if Charlotte's on NXT, or she wasn't tonight, but if she's on SmackDown on Friday, then we'll talk again. If they invoke that brand-to-brand bullshit and she's on SmackDown, I'll be like, okay, what the fuck? But seems like Charlotte is kind of not concerned with the AEW title anymore. I don't think she's going to come back here, or NXT, excuse me. I don't think she's going to come back to Wednesdays and make a run at that thing. So she's at least off that day of the week. Now, if they just keep her off Fridays from now on, then she's just back on Raw and there's no issue. So let's just wait and see. But if she's on Raw and she's on 2 segments, fucking 5 or 6 guys every single week are on 2 segments. Not a big deal. It's the multiple show thing that's when I am on the bandwagon. That's when I'm like, okay, the fans are right. Enough is enough with the Charlotte. But she wrestled as much as Asuka did on Monday. So, you know, aside from that, I think people are adding it to the other shows, but let's see where it goes now. Now that she's not NXT champion, she really has no reason to be on those other shows. So she shouldn't be. And if they stick her on there anyway, then okay, I'll put the overexposed bumper sticker on my car. But they got to do that first. Otherwise, it's not a big deal for her to be on twice or wrestle twice. It's a extremely common thing that's not rare at all. So I don't know why Charlotte is so special, but fans are sick of her. They're happy that she lost. And then she turned right around and had a match with Asuka on Monday night. And at least it wasn't a title match. I thought it was at first. I'm like, oh my God, are they really going to do this? Are they really going to take that NXT title off of Charlotte and then immediately give her the Raw title the next night? I knew they weren't going to do that. And luckily it wasn't even a title match. She won in a shitty way. Nobody was buried. All fine. Set up more for the Asuka-Nia stuff on Sunday. And you know Asuka will beat Nia at Backlash. And then after that, that's when it might get interesting because we still have Shayna Baszler on Raw too. So I want to see Baszler and Charlotte hook up a little bit. Maybe the 2 of them can do battle to find out who faces Asuka. You know, Shayna and Charlotte. Charlotte puts down Shayna Baszler. That'll actually be an interesting match because when Shayna Baszler was NXT champion, everybody wanted her to lose because they were tired of her. So she almost had that same type of heat that Charlotte had. So now you put them together. I still think the fans are going to insist that Baszler win, and if she doesn't, she's buried and all that. But they didn't seem to like her either when she was NXT champion, so I don't know why they would give a fuck at all. But Baszler hasn't even been a force on TV. Like, is she hurt, or is she just, what's she doing? I kind of thought that she was going to still fall into that title contention there because she was feuding with Becky, and it looked like their WrestleMania match was going to continue into another match prior to Becky getting pregnant. So I don't know Shayna Baszler cannot be the type of person that creative doesn't have anything for. That's ridiculous. And with Charlotte being on Raw this past week to be out there, you could have put Shayna Baszler in that position. You could have put Bianca Belair in that situation too, if you wanted to. So I don't know. I'm curious what the future is for Asuka, but she is so damn entertaining right now. She's probably, the most, maybe not the most over. Her NXT run was fun, but she seems to be on the main roster now the most over she's been. She really seemed to come full circle now to where they seem to care about her behind the scenes. They're giving her titles. Vince seems to like her. She's entertaining. She's having a good time. And I'm in no rush to see her drop the belt at all. I don't want to see her being a transitional champion either. I think a lot of people thought that when she won the belt at Money in the Bank, but I don't think so. I think the plan was to put the belt on her because she was going to win. Remember, they filmed that before the Becky announcement. So Asuka was going to be the briefcase holder, which means had Becky not gotten pregnant, Asuka would be holding that thing right now, waiting to see what was going to happen with Baszler and Becky and potentially Charlotte being back on the scene, and she was going to pick her spot. I don't think they were going to give the briefcase to Asuka for her to unsuccessfully cash it in. I truly believe she would have. So they seem to have plans for her to be champion at some point, but instead of having it happen in a few months, they're having it happen now and giving her her run now, and then maybe SummerSlam, maybe even longer, but I think SummerSlam's more likely. She'll cough it up. She'll cough the big red belt up, but by then it was a sort of a run, and I wouldn't consider her to be transitional. So yeah, we'll see. That's the latest with the Charlotte stuff. We'll see how many signatures the petition gets, because I'm sure WWE will totally take that seriously and be like, oh yeah, let's never have her win again because we got 1,000 fucking idiots signing a piece of paper, all spelling their name wrong. Follow the Dream. Thank you, brother, for the $10. Hey, Greg, they should have had a TV title championship tournament. Cody needs to give the younger talent a better chance to come up. And that belt is ugly, man. It needs to be like the NWA TV belt. I wish it was, but I think the NWA brought back right before everything closed down. Didn't the NWA bring back the TV title? The old way it looked with the red strap and everything. So this is like AEW's answer to that. I don't think they want to necessarily recreate that title, but create something similar. And yeah, the belt is kind of ugly. Now, when they finish it and it gets the gold plating, it'll help. But as far as I know, it's not finished yet. He's still out there with that can of Budweiser, right? So once it's completely finished, I think it'll help and it'll look better. But yeah, it's not the... I would have rather it been called the TV title, because the TNT title makes me wonder for the future. If AEW is going to be in business 20 years from now, are they always going to be on TNT? You're going to have to change the name of the belt. Not that that's the end of the world or anything. WWE's had world titles and universal titles and WWE titles and undisputed titles. They have their heads right up their asses with that type of stuff, so it's not uncommon, but I would rather have a belt that could build a legacy and a lineage and not a belt that's got a name change in the middle of it. So if they leave TNT one day and find themselves on another network, do they rename the title to that network, or do they just call it the fucking TV title like they should have done all along? I don't know. I see potential problems for that. Not really problems, but just stuff as a wrestling fan I don't want to see them have to go through. Finally get the fans used to a belt and a concept and idea, and then you change it on them. I don't know, but who knows? They might be, their contract and their relationship with TNT might turn out to be similar to what WWE did with USA, where they were just in bed together for years, 30, 40 plus years now almost, with that little gap in between there when they went to Spike and to TNN. We got Pop. Remember that? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they stay on TNT forever, it's not an issue. TNT Championship, no big deal. But I kind of feel like they got themselves into a corner there. Dan Price, there you are, man. Good to see you. Sorry we missed each other the other night. All good, though. Dan's working on some designs for me, logo stuff. Marcus, you think Shayna is boring? I like Shayna. I don't think she's not supposed to be Shawn Michaels. She's not supposed to be flashy, flamboyant, and all that. She's an ass kicker. A lot of ass kickers are kind of boring. She's not out there like Bianca Belair twirling her hair around, and I don't know where she is. As far as I know, she's not injured. But when she was gaining momentum like that, I loved Bianca. Did you guys see me kind of like, if you follow me for like last year or so, at first she did nothing for me. I thought it was way too much, the hair thing. I thought it was so focused on that. And WWE didn't give a shit about anything about her except for her twirling that damn hair. But then when I started watching her and watching how good she was and how athletic she was and how her in-ring work and style improved over the course of the 12 months, I was like, man, that girl is awesome. Then she started getting on the mic and impressing the shit out of me. The way she talks and stuff. I just think she's got everything. And now we haven't seen her? What the fuck? You called her up after WrestleMania and she did nothing. She came out there and helped out her husband and helped out the Street Profits a little bit, but didn't do anything. Give her a girl to work with. Let her beat the shit out of Natalya. What are you doing? So yeah, I don't know where she is. So if she's hurt, then fine, no big deal. She can't be on TV. But if she's available and they're not using her, they're idiots. She's there and she's awesome. So wake up, WWE. Ha, Wheezy, I'm sure you will, man. I'm sure you will. Ladder match was good at Mania. What the hell was the ladder match? Tag team one? I barely remember WrestleMania. New Japan's coming back. They've announced some dates. I am so ready for that. I actually pulled up New Japan World the other night and I was just kind of surfing around there. I kind of miss me some matches, some Japan matches. Yeah, Dan, we speculated on the same thing. I thought that, a Jericho Orange Cassidy match would just kind of take place on Dynamite, but with Fyter Fest right down the road, seems to be what they're building up to, and I think that's great. Good for Orange, and good for Jericho for working with him. He's working with everybody. Give him the big FU to all the snobby fans, who would run out of breath just by running to their mailbox, trying to talk about Orange Cassidy not being fit to be in the ring and shit. And you got a 30-year veteran, future Hall of Famer, legend in the business. He thinks he's worthy, so I think the rest of us need to shut our mouths. And yeah, freshly squeezed at Fyter Fest versus Jericho, and Jericho will win. He will. Cassidy will have him on the ropes. Jericho give him a good fight. Judas affect him for the win. No harm done, which is my argument about Orange Cassidy. The whole time, I'm like, if he's out there winning world titles with his hands in his pockets, then I'll start listening to that argument. But until that happens, if he's in the ring with any big star, he's going to go down every time. So it's not, to me, it's a non-issue. Non-issue. Yeah, I didn't like the hair thing at first with Bianca. That's got to be a pain in the ass to put that together every day, however they do it, or weave it in there or whatever. But at first I didn't like it because I thought that's all she was, but then she's so much more than that. Now I think like the hair is almost in her way. You should just let her personality shine. Let her athleticism shine. She is an athlete and a good one. I am in love with Bianca Belair. And I said when she first came in, I'm like, all right, how long is it going to take for somebody to tie that hair to the ring post? That's all you got to do. Just tie it to the ring post. Or use the hair as handcuffs and tie our hands behind her back using the hair ponytail. That would be funny too. They touched on they didn't mention his name, but Fandango mentioned his WrestleMania 29 match on NXT tonight. But they didn't show Jericho. I would have. My first match ever, I beat Chris Jericho. That's what WWE would have done back in the day. Remember when the Warrior came back in? Ultimate Warrior came back in 96. And they announced him returning the night after the Royal Rumble. And every week between then and WrestleMania, they were showing him beating somebody from WCW. They replayed the Hogan finish 1,000 times. They replayed the Savage finish from the next year because he beat Hogan and Savage in back-to-back years. And they were, the top guys in WCW at the time. And boy, they just smashed that down your throat. And WWE didn't even want to show Jericho on their screen when they could have. Oh, that's cool, Victor. I don't think I've seen Bianca wrestle live. I've only been to like 2 shows in the last 15 years. So yeah, I don't think I've yet to see her. She's great. Oh, Bianca's been on Main Event. I mean, normally I would say, I'm like, all right, they're putting her on one of the smaller shows, kind of get her used to and accustomed to everything, but that's what NXT is for. So, like, she doesn't need any more seasoning, and if she's on Main Event, we don't even have an audience right now anyway, so there's literally no difference in the product and stuff, so I don't know why. I mean, there's AEW's the same way. There's a few people that have been on Dark like almost every week and never on Dynamite. But Bianca is good. She is so stupidly good. She doesn't need any more work. If she did, you'd leave her in NXT. So if you're going to bring her up when she already has a little bit of momentum, don't make us forget about her. I mean, we see how much filler is on Monday Night Raw. I think Bianca would be great on SmackDown, but I think WWE's pretty cool like that. They try to keep the couples together. That's actually kind of awesome that they do that because, there's some places that don't want people dating. And they certainly are not going to bend over backwards to make sure that their relationship is working out. Like if I'm managing the restaurant at my job and I have 2 servers that are dating or something, and they're trying to work out their schedule so they can be off together. I'm like, that's y'all's problem. Don't bring that shit in here. So, it's kind of cool that WWE does that, and where they'll say, you know what? Let's keep the people that are in a relationship on the same brand. When they don't have to, they can be like, we want you on SmackDown, so too bad. Y'all work it out. Y'all are just going to have to do the long distance thing. So at least the fact that they try to do that, I think is somewhat cool. And maybe she'd be better on SmackDown because she's in the land of the giants right now. You got Baszler, Charlotte, and Asuka all in that roster. You had Bianca as an actual contender there. That's a pretty, when she's on main event or in catering doing nothing, she's invisible. But if she was actually out there winning matches and she was in the mix for the title, that's a great core 4 for a Raw women's division. Looks a lot better than what's on the other side on the blue brand. So either do something with her or move her to SmackDown or just pull your head outside of your anuses. WWE, what the hell, man? She is too good to go to waste. No, Jericho doesn't need to win. He will, though. Yeah, he's not. Orange Cassidy's not beating Jericho. No way. Unless it was like a fluke kind of thing. I could see him like it. But that would be, again, that would be something that would be done for Dynamite. Like if that was a Dynamite match, I might say, okay, maybe Cassidy's got a chance to win. Catch, all Inner Circle guys are out there. Best friends are out there. People are flying all over the place. All sorts of distractions. And Orange rolls up Jericho. Quick 1, 2, 3. Jericho's freaking out, like when Candido lost to Barry Horowitz, like that type of thing. Oh my God, what an upset. Holy shit, Orange Cassidy with the win of his life. So yeah, I mean, that would actually be a great feather in his cap. But, I also think just kind of being in there, eating a Judas effect, getting pinned will somewhat serve the same purpose. It depends. Jericho certainly isn't above putting people over. He doesn't give a shit. Not at this point in his career. Why would he? But I still feel like if that match were to happen right now, that it would be a Jericho victory. But Orange at some point needs to get his revenge. I mean, he got busted up bad tonight, so he needs to get some revenge on Jericho. That'll probably happen next week. Oh, Paige? Paige said that on Backstage. They allowed Paige to smoke crack on Backstage. Natty could replace Becky as the top babyface? Natty. Natalya Neidhart. Girl with the ears. That one? No. Paige. Enough with the meth. It's bad for you. I saw that one live. Maka, Randy Orton, and Cactus Jack. Where it all begins again. I drove back to my old hometown. I was living down at the beach in North Carolina, and I drove back to G Vegas and watched that show with Daniel, my buddy Daniel, at a bar with some other people. And I'll never forget, that was the first time I had seen, I think, like a bareback thumbtack bump. Didn't he take that bare ass on because when Mick would take it, he was Mankind. He was Cactus Jack. He had the flannel on or something, which still hurts like a bitch, but at least he had something in between his flesh and the tacks. And I think Randy Orton took that thing shirtless, if I remember right. And I remember cringing. I'm like, that has got to hurt so fucking bad. I mean, I've stepped on a tack on my carpet before by mistake, and I screamed loud enough for the whole goddamn neighborhood to hear me. I couldn't imagine having 300 of these things shoved into your back and your muscles and your meat. My God. That was when Randy Orton earned my respect, man. I already thought that he was real good. I already thought that he was money. I liked him in the ring, very smooth in the ring, but I kind of still at that time envisioned him as, maybe an MJF or a Sammy Guevara, kind of just a pretty boy, just a shit-talking, gum-chewing, cocky son of a bitch. And so for him to go out there and do that, he won me over. I think he won the WWE over, too, because a couple months later, he was beating Benoit and becoming the youngest heavyweight champion ever. But, yeah, I'll never forget that, man. That was gnarly. God, still makes me cringe. Anytime, I just don't understand. I'm so glad I didn't become a wrestler because the first night, my opponent was like, hey, you want to do a thumbtack spot? I'm like, no, I don't. Never. Don't give a shit what you pay me. Not doing that. Tiger Zillagama, I'm going to go with your pick because I was there. I was at SummerSlam 2000, and I had great seats. I was really close to where I could feel. I've talked about that match before. Like, there's a Matt Hardy bump. Pretty sure it was Matt. Fell through a ladder, over the top rope to the outside of the ring, and when he hit the floor, underneath my feet, I felt it. Like, I felt him hit. And that was when I first realized, like, God, some of these bumps are no joke, because this match wasn't a very old concept. They had just started it less than a year before at No Mercy in 99. And I hadn't, even though I was going to a shitload of shows at that time, I hadn't seen one of these matches yet in person. And to see it not only in person, but on a pay-per-view and up close, it gave me an instant respect for the fact that these guys go out there and die every night in their matches in the Attitude Era. And I was like, wow, that is just you got to have so much adrenaline to be able to get up from taking some of those bumps, especially Jeff. He was crazy. He was the craziest. I really wish you guys could see Tito right now, my cat. He's sleeping on top of the couch. It's pretty hysterical. Oh, well, I'm the only one that gets to enjoy it. Randy's going to give birth to a thumbtack baby. What do you guys think about the stuff that's going on with Randy and Tommaso? We going to get a match here in the future between the two? Maybe on the main brand if they call up Tommaso. They were kind of beefing a little bit on Twitter, and I think maybe it was something that was started out as not a work but will turn into one kind of thing. Randy Orton was trying to give NXT props for the In Your House, but also made a little joke about, giving him some leg slaps for him or whatever. Like, nice job, hashtag leg slap or whatever. And Tommaso kind of took offense to that little comment there and was like, hey, we all busted our ass. Why don't you go fuck yourself kind of thing. And they jawed back and forth for a little bit. So I don't know if they set that up. The way I think it works, for most of these guys, because they're all in the same place right now. We got to remember that. They're all in Orlando. So they see each other all the time and shit. So maybe it was a deal where, if it was me, I don't know how this shit works with the WWE wrestlers, but if you're going to have a Twitter beef or something, I'm probably texting the person before I tweet. I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk shit to you on this tweet. You cool? Oh, yeah, say whatever you want. Let's just roll with it. Okay, cool. And then you took that kind of thing. So I think that's got to happen. So, maybe initially it was meant right, and then the two of them maybe texted personally, like, hey Randy, let's go. I'm gonna talk more shit to you. Give it back to me. Let's roll with it for a while or whatever. So that's kind of the way I think a lot of Twitter beefs, especially in wrestling, go. I think they check with each other. I would, if I'm gonna talk shit to somebody that I see in the locker room every day, I'm gonna, unless I hate that person, I don't give a fuck what they think. I'm not gonna deliberately go out of my way to like upset them or piss them off or hurt their feelings. So I'm gonna check with them, like, hey, is it cool if we work the fans a little bit? Hell yeah, let's have a good time. That's just the way I think it goes, because that's what I'd be doing. I'd be texting Randy Orton right now. I'm like, hey, I'm going to shit on you on Twitter. You cool with that? And then he'll text me back, fuck yeah, dude. I'll shit on you right back. So I don't know. We've heard Tommaso softening his stance a bit on the main roster call-up. Seems to be open to it, provided he doesn't have to work 455 days a year. And if he's able to work something a little bit more reasonable, he seems open to doing it, and that opens up the door for all sorts of great matches. And maybe a match with Randy Orton could happen at SummerSlam. I'd be down with that, but we'll see. According to the sheets, according to the Meltzers, and guys like that, this is not a work. There's no been indication of it or whatever. It seems like they really did go back and forth a little bit there on Twitter, but to me, that just got me thinking about the match. If it's two other people that are just beefing, sometimes you don't give a shit. I don't even want to see them wrestle anyway. but Ciampa and Orton, that's sexy. I'll take that match. On paper, that looks great. I mean, Ciampa's giving away a lot of size. He's giving away a lot of size to anybody he wrestles with, but I still think it would be a fun match. And you got two, in a way, they're similar. Ciampa, the whole deal, when he was that vicious heel and he was doing the thing with Gargano, he had shades of Randy. He had that, that sadistic viper side of him that Randy does. And they're the same in a lot of ways. Their characters are. So I think that would make for a real fun clash down the line. I think. Marcus, brother, thank you for the $5. WrestleMania 21 is much better on the playback. Star making with Orton and Undertaker. Cena wins WWE title. Batista wins World Heavyweight title. Edge wins, and Kurt Angle. Yes, I agree. As a matter of fact, WrestleMania 21 made my top 10 WrestleManias, and I talked about that very fact. And it's out this year before WrestleMania. I released all 10 of my favorite WrestleManias in separate videos. So if you go to the one where I talk about WrestleMania 21, I mentioned that very fact, and the fact that I didn't give WrestleMania 21 enough love at the time. Like, I remember watching it, I was still a little bit like uncomfortable with Brock being gone, and I wasn't sold on Batista. And you knew he was going to be put over. You knew going into WrestleMania that it was going to be Batista and John Cena's night. Triple H and JBL were not going to be retaining. So to me, I was already like, I didn't really care much about Cena at the time. Grew to love him, grew to defend the shit out of him. But even at the time when he was over was when I was least into him. You know, it was really weird how it worked with me and Cena. When the fans loved him the most, I wasn't sold on him. When the fans started shitting on him, I was sold on him. So I went reverse of everybody else. Didn't really care for the thugonomics stuff. Wasn't that big a deal to me. So I really wasn't into either guy. But the card was stacked. You had the first ever Money in the Bank. You had Eddie and Ray. You had a Piper's Pit. You had Hulk Hogan coming back. You had, Taker and Orton and Angle and HBK, which was just a phenomenal fucking card. And going back now and looking at that show, which was right up the road from me in Staples, man, I don't know. I've never given that show enough credit. The two title matches, to me, were two of the least memorable things about the show. To me, it was about the Hogan thing, the Piper's Pit, the Edge, Edge winning the Money in the Bank, Orton and Taker, and Shawn and Kurt Angle, which still, that Shawn and Kurt Angle match is one of the most beautiful masterpieces I've ever seen. You know, I love the Taker and Shawn WrestleMania 25. It's hard for me to put any match against that and beat it. But when you go back and watch that 21 match with Angle and Shawn, really, it's close. I mean, it really is. If you put them side by side. I mean, I don't know. If you would have put Angle and Shawn in front of 70,000 like Taker and Shawn was, I don't know. That match was up there. Fun stuff. So yeah, I totally agree. WrestleMania 21, I apologized to it in the video. I said, I'm sorry. I never gave you credit. You're awesome. You know, and it was. I never considered it to be in my top 10 maybe 10 years ago. It's only until recent years that I've really grown to appreciate it, especially now. So I totally agree, Marcus. For those of you who are in here, our small little intimate group tonight, can you guys do me a favor and smash a thumbs up if you haven't already? Try to get me beyond jabroni likes here. I feel like a jabroni. We should finally, I know we've been talking about this forever. We are like literally on the doorstep of 30,000 subscribers. So there's only 93 of you in here. I know you guys are all subscribers, but if for any reason one or two of you is not, subscribe. You will like it. All right, checking the time here, checking Twitter. All right, good. No questions coming in over there. Just a few stupid likes. All right, well, that's probably going to be wrapping it up for me. I'm not going to hang out here too late tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because for the fourth straight weekend in a row, you get me 3 straight days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Backlash predictions, Backlash review, Raw review. And then the following week, I got to nail down a date because I got 2 live streams coming up. The first one I'm going to do is on the Money in the Bank 2011 pay-per-view and the Summer of Punk. Fun shit. I will have a date on that for you soon. And then my man Dre is also got a live stream in the works. His is a little bit more elaborate, and I got to do a little bit of note making and some preparation for that. But it's going to be discussing, just a random kind of casual discussion on the territories and some of my memories and some of the bigger moments, matches, and events in the territory days, around the 70s and 80s and stuff, which I have plenty to talk about there, but also some stuff that I want to refresh my memory on because my personal memories of watching those are small. I had a little bit of AWA programming in Detroit, and I had a good amount of NWA programming in the South, and then a ton of WCW. So most of my territory knowledge came from tape trading. I've got a lot of Mid-South stuff, a lot of Mid-Atlantic stuff, a lot of Florida stuff, a lot of Stampede stuff, and a lot of AWA stuff. So we'll talk about that for the most part when that live stream happens, and I'll keep you guys abreast of the dates on both. So yeah, I think that's going to be it. I got to get out of here. I got things to do, and then got another busy weekend of work. So anyway, as far as Saturday goes, the plan is, let me see Saturday. I got to figure out what the hell's going on Saturday. I'm going to be up here predictions. I'm just not sure what time yet. It actually might be a daytime thing. I should have looked at that before. I think it might be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. That's right. I meant to mention that before. Good, I'm glad I caught that. So here's the deal for Saturday. The NXT predictions are going to come up early. Yeah, they're probably going to be 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me. So that's going to be 5 p.m. on the East Coast. That's the time we're shooting for. Keep that in mind for this coming Saturday. 2 p.m. is when we'll be going. 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time is when we will go live for the Backlash predictions. So yeah, Saturday is going to be a little bit weird. No Winged Eagle, just predictions. We'll touch on wrestling news, and we'll discuss the results of the previous night's SmackDown. I don't think anything too crazy is going to happen this Friday, but if anything does, we'll talk about it on Saturday with the predictions. So it'll be an afternoon stream prior to Backlash. So I'm sorry that the schedule kind of is changing a little bit here with some of the times and the dates and stuff. That's only because my work schedule's changed a bit due to the COVID stuff, and it's just all kind of mishmashed. But we'll do it. We always do. We'll manage. And one way or the other, you'll see me multiple times a week here on the good old YouTube. I want to thank you guys. You guys are awesome because it was a low audience tonight. So the few of you that are in here, I know are loyal. Ran with about 100 all night, which is fine. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you joining me. And I will catch you Saturday afternoon for Backlash weekend. Y'all be good. Enjoy your night.